Welcome back to Ask Allison. Here's today's question. I think I want to start my own private practice, but I'm also planning to start a family in the next 1 to 2 years. Would it be more strategic to wait until after I take maternity leave? So first, I want to thank TherapyNotes for sponsoring Ask Allison. They are the #1 rated electronic health record system available today with live telephone support 7 days a week. It's clear why TherapyNotes is rated 4.9 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot, and they have a 5-star rating on Google. TherapyNotes makes billing, scheduling, note-taking, and telehealth incredibly easy. And now for all you prescribers out there, TherapyNotes is proudly introducing ePrescribe. If you're coming from another EHR, they make it super easy to transition over. They'll import all your demographic data free of charge. That way you can just get going. Find out why more than 100,000 mental health professionals trust TherapyNotes. You can try them for 2 months for free by using the promo code ABUNDANT at checkout at therapynotes.com. All right, so I have a very, very strong opinion about this. I would strongly encourage you to start private practice ASAP for 3 big reasons that we're going to go through: time, money, and stress. I am basing this on the typical US maternity leave. So if you're in a country that has a reasonable maternity leave situation, or your company treats its employees really well in the maternity leave arena, then your math is going to look different. We're going to do some math together though, okay? In most US companies, you don't get paid maternity leave. Your job will be held for you for 12 weeks if your company qualifies for FMLA. But any income that you get during maternity leave is drawn from your built-up paid time off. If you're like most Americans, you don't use most of your PTO, so you have a bunch of PTO saved up. Most therapists I know working in agencies take like 6 weeks, I would say, on average / maybe tops. Most people don't have 12 weeks of PTO saved up. You have to have worked somewhere for a really long time and basically never have gotten sick or gone to the doctor or gone on vacation. So what I want to look at though is agency life versus private practice in pregnancy, maternity leave, and returning from maternity leave. Let's say you're in an agency and you bring home about $3,500 per month after taxes. You're at work probably 45 hours per week, including your lunch break, which probably isn't always a full break. It's a lot of work. Especially if you're tired as hell and you feel sick a lot, and you also don't have a whole lot of autonomy in most agencies. So I'm going to rate the stress level as definitely like higher in an agency. If you saved up 6 weeks of PTO, then that's 6 weeks where you'll continue at that rate of $3,500 per month. So roughly like $5,250 pay over that month and a half. If you have a complicated pregnancy, or you actually took vacations and time off in the past, you may not have 6 weeks of PTO saved up. So you might end up having to take some time off without pay, or you may return to work even sooner after birth. If you're breastfeeding, you're going to need some pump breaks. My friends usually work those in during lunch and then 1 or 2 other breaks, often while doing paperwork. My friends would pump on the drive to and from work. So no real breaks to pump, more kind of like multitasking to pump. If breastfeeding is a struggle for you, like it was for me, then sometimes for some people, the pump can cause some problems. It did for me. You may be looking at managing clogged ducts, mastitis, and hard, swollen, leaking breasts while you're trying to meet your agency's productivity standards. That is my picture through friends of agency life and maternity leave and coming back. I had both my kids while I was in private practice, and we're going to talk about what that looked like with my first kid, because that was more of my like earth shaker, becoming a parent, and I needed more time off for that. So we'll talk about that. All in, I was working less than 30 hours per week while I was pregnant. That includes networking, marketing, notes, client time, everything. There were no meetings because it was just me. I took off whatever time I needed for appointments with my midwife or for ultrasounds or prenatal massages, childbirth classes. It was really easy to arrange my schedule around those so that I still saw the same number of clients per week. My private practice was full. It was bringing in an average of about $12,000 per month. Of that, I took home about $8,500 per month. Now, I'm a saver. As soon as I knew I was pregnant, I started saving. I saved more than I needed to. And I took 3 full months off. I continued to pay myself $8,500 a month during that time. So the total was $25,500. Certainly more than the $5,000 whatever that you would be being paid for 6 weeks in agency work, and more than double that for the time, equal time. I was the sole income for our family at that time. My partner was in PA school. It was like a lot of hours per week. Like having a job was not an option while he was in that program. And I needed almost every bit of those 3 months while I worked through the breastfeeding issues we had and postpartum depression. I returned to my practice and was full again in 2 weeks. Most of my people came back. That made it a lot easier. I worked 3 days per week. I took 2 pump breaks per day while either watching Netflix or videos of our daughter. I usually ate like a first lunch and a second lunch during both of those pump breaks. So I was still multitasking to some extent. I was always hungry. The breastfeeding issues led to some leaking and some balloon boobs during session, but because I had ideal clients, it wasn't a big thing. Breast pads and soft bras helped. Nobody said anything that made me uncomfortable or that was inappropriate. And I had some moms on my caseload who had recently given birth. So the leaking boobs thing was like a thing. I had 4 days off per week, right? So that allowed me to hang out with my baby, my friends, go to appointments, rest. And the stress that I felt wasn't work related. It wasn't financially related. I'd overcome the postpartum depression during maternity leave. So I was kind of in that run-of-the-mill new parent hormone body stuff stress that most people experience. So you can see by comparison, in my opinion, there's absolutely no contest between agency and having kids and private practice and having kids. If I had been an agency and worried about money and worried about time and worried about just like work stress and boss stuff, in addition to recovering from postpartum depression, I probably wouldn't have had time to fully recover. It would have lasted longer. Not that I'm wishing postpartum depression on anybody, obviously, but it felt really good to know that I could have made even more time and space to recover if I needed to, because we were fine financially and because my clients would have been fine with waiting because they're ideal clients. So we have all the consents and communication for maternity leave and the abundance party when you need it. It's all the forms that I used for both my private practices when I had both my kids. And we've also used it for team members in my group practice because they get paid maternity leave here because that's the right thing. You can join and get those forms over at abundanceparty.com. Today's free worksheet is a blog post that I wrote that outlined everything I did during that whole process of like pregnancy and maternity leave in private practice. There weren't a whole lot of guides for that. So I created one when I first found out I was pregnant with my second kid based on what I did with my first kid, partly for y'all and partly just to help me sort through what my steps would be with the second kid. Yeah, congratulations in advance for anybody who is watching this, who is in this position right now. And if you have questions for Ask Allison, please DM me over on Instagram where I'm abundance_practice_building.